Each of the judges will go down the row, will introduce themselves and their firm briefly, and then just give a few thoughts. And again, it's meant to be as much value for the audience as it is for the contestants. So please, why don't we start with Kevin?
So Innosight is a strategy consulting firm. We were founded about 10 years ago by a Harvard professor named Clayton Christensen, who wrote a couple of books on innovation that became quite popular. The Innovator's Dilemma, The Innovator's Solution, kind of topping that list. And what we've spent the last 10 years really doing is helping to demystify what innovation means, especially within large enterprises. So how do companies that have been successful in a certain generation of their industry, how do they reinvent themselves, reinvent their industry to generate sustainable growth and return, similar to what IBM has actually done in the last 100 years, so my compliments. I was an ex-IBMer so I have to disclose that. So a couple things that we look for, whether it's a startup outside of a big company or something that people are trying to incubate inside a large enterprise. Real-world experience, in my mind, trumps any kind of conference room planning. So spreadsheets, pie charts, things of that nature. If you can actually get out, and as Sal Khan alluded to earlier on, and we heard a few of the presenters talk about, if you can get out and get some real-world validation of your idea, if people are actually willing to pay you for it, one thing we've encouraged some of our clients to do is to give away the product and then try and take it back after 6 months. If people are willing to say, no, wait, I need this here now in this organization, how much can I pay you to keep this prototype you gave me? It's a pretty good validation that you've invented something that people really want. So we look for those types of things. Scott Cook, the head of Intuit, is kind of a friend of our firm. We've never actually consulted for him. He does a lot of this stuff instinctively, but he's got a great line about forecasting early on. And what he said is the spreadsheet is wrong, we just don't know in what direction. We can either completely underscope the opportunity that we see, or we can completely overscope it. And he said for every one of our failures, we've had spreadsheets that looked awesome. So the reality is no one knowingly invests in a bad business model. What you have to do is allow yourself the freedom to respond to market input. So go forward with a plan, believe what you have evidence to believe, invest at the pace of that confidence, but then be prepared to pivot when necessary. I'll close with the last comment. The other side of the Scott Cook story is the Mike Tyson story, which is everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. So it's how you respond to that moment that we encourage our organizations to respond to. So those are kind of my thoughts for the teams going forward to kick this off.
Well, I also want to congratulate the teams that present today. I've participated in the last few years, and I continue to always get excited by the new ideas that come in from some of these student entrepreneurs. Just broadly speaking, Bruce and I have talked a bit about this in some prior sessions about some of the things to focus on in a pitch. And in the 3 minutes, you have a very, very limited amount of time. So I have to commend all of you for getting as much as you did in those 3 minutes. But I think generally, especially if you're looking on the, say, the for-profit new business side, first of all, understanding what the overall business proposition is. So one gentleman, I think, said, I'm the eBay for lending, or whatever it is, helping to quickly understand what the actual overall business proposition, that's very helpful. Understanding the market size, and not just, obviously, this is a however many billion-dollar healthcare market, but what's the actual slice you could get with your rev model, which is, of course, speculative if you're not yet actually monetizing on it. Management, competition. I think a lot of presentations had elements of it, and some did better in certain areas than others, but I think that was one thing that I think generally is good to get, even in a 3-minute pitch. I guess the other thing is just about understanding what's really an amazing pain point. That's something that Sal alluded to in his speech, but and it's sometimes hard to know until you actually have enough customer traction, but something you have to really compel an investor to spend more time talking to you, whether it's at a cocktail party or whether it's in a meeting, is, okay, is this a nice to have, or is this something someone really just must have? Part of that's with the enthusiasm and passion the entrepreneur has, but part of it's also with the model itself. Just in 1 minute, just briefly, just the individual businesses in no specific order. For FitHopper, we'll talk specifically about stuff in our conclusion at the end, but I think we all agree that the market's a big market. It's unclear, I think, from the presentation exactly how this would work and whether this is actually necessarily the right segment of the market to pursue. And I think it would be helpful to get some stuff on market sizing. Residential solutions, I think that the overall idea of matching roommates is an interesting one, and I've invested specifically in businesses that do matching lead generation in other categories, both consumer and B2B, but it's hard to figure out what the real meat and potatoes of the business will be going forward. You have one pilot, but it's just understanding how this will scale and how you're going to get a larger slice of the actual IT spending. I felt it's, of course, in its early stages, but that would be helpful. Lean Canteen, I thought, was a really good delivery and really nailed the unit economics. I think just personally, I'm trying to understand, some of the actual, stress test the actual value prop of getting what Kevin alluded to earlier about whether you would go outside to get, something that's lean cuisine-like versus something that's maybe really unique and differentiated. But I thought it was a very good presentation. And also the big thing there, understanding this will be the last thing I comment on, I'll let the others talk about social ventures, is from an investor perspective, what type of investor are you looking for? Is this really going to be something which you would approach even an angel investor, or is it really more a loan from friends and family? So, yeah, those are my comments.
Thanks. Hi, I'm Jalak Jobanputra. I'm a director of mobile investments at the Omidyar network, and I apologize for my voice. I was at Summit at Sea this past weekend, and the Roots were the house band. And congratulations to all of you. I thought the pitches were great, considering you had 3 minutes to get in a lot of information. So kudos to all of you. A few points on Omidyar Network, where a philanthropic capitalist fund founded by eBay co-founder Pierre Omidyar to invest in market-based solutions to have social impact. And we invest globally. We have different areas of focus. One is financial inclusion. Another is property rights, which is very relevant in places like Africa and India. Mobile, which is the initiative that I joined 4 months ago to head up. And government transparency is our other major focus, and we are actively involved in funding some efforts in the Middle East around that right now. Just generally speaking, I thought the presentations covered a good range of information in 3 minutes. I always like to see more on competition. Usually, it's something that you have to understand, that the investors that you're pitching to, some of them may know the market really well, but others may not, and it's important to understand what differentiates your company and your product offering over what else is out there in the market. And there is always competition to talk about. If there isn't, then it's not an interesting enough market. But just going on to specifics, for FitHopper, I actually thought there was an interesting model in there in terms of lead generation for connecting individual, like personal trainers or small, fitness outfits to consumers who may not want to pay gym fees, or may, like in my case, I travel a lot, and I'm not making use of my gym membership, so I can see myself using it. I don't know how open the gyms would be to a model and how the economics would work as presented, but that's just some specific feedback there. Lean Canteen, and resolutions, I'd say I'd echo a lot of what Somak said, so I won't repeat those. In terms of the social venture, Little Big Loan, I think the peer-to-peer lending market is one that's since Kiva was founded, and we have given Kiva money to expand out of Omidyar. There have been lots of new models and kind of new markets being addressed around this, but David asked this question about the regulatory environment. I think that's something that, even before going out and asking for investment, looking at what the constraints are, and what's been the gating factors and experiences with places like Kiva is very important, and also be aware that some of these other platforms may look at this market also. And 17-year-olds are a high-risk profile, so in terms of credit assessment risk, et cetera, I think that area also needs to be focused on. Malo traders, like the fact that you guys are, addressing a need in a country that well. Distribution is very challenging in Africa, as I am experiencing looking at different models in Africa. So getting a handle on that, and maybe it's through the proof of concept, but that would be important to an investor. Thanks.
I thought everybody did a very good job. You're to be credited. A lot of pressure to deliver that in a 3-minute period. I guess in terms of feedback, I would say, don't give up. There's not, this is a competition, and obviously the winners will get a relatively modest amount of resource. But if you think your idea makes a whole lot of sense, just don't give up on it. I think all of the ideas needed some refinement. Maybe it was a consequence of only having 3 minutes and a relatively short amount of ink to be able to outline your idea, but I would, refine them even more. In terms of the specifics, I think Mallow Traders had a very interesting concept there. Since the large amount of money that would be available for that is among the international development community and international NGOs, especially those that do a lot of work with USAID and a variety of other funders, you might have, if you haven't already done so, spend a little bit more time on where that money is and how to be able to attract it to this idea. I thought the Lean Canteen idea made a lot of sense, although we didn't have a lot of time to be able to hear the details. So again, just congratulations and thank you to the people who spent their time on their ideas.
My name is David S. Rose. I'm the chairman of New York Angels, the largest angel investing group in New York. And I'm also, as an entrepreneur, the CEO of a company called AngelSoft, which provides the back-end infrastructure for virtually every angel group in the world. I thought, again, like everybody else, that the presentations were all a good job from scratch. There are two different parts to judging for us as judges and for you as presenters in a competition like this. One of them is the actual content of the business. That's the business model and what you're doing, and does it make sense? Can it make money? Do you have the experience, and so on and so forth. The other one is the presentation, how you actually get up here and use your 3 minutes plus 2 minutes of Q&A. That part is totally learnable. I mean, that's a pure skill set. There are books on it. A great book is called Presentation Zen by Gar Reynolds. There are online resources, a video that I did. It's actually for TED. You can go to the TED website and look for David S. Rose. And you can read all kinds of blog posts about it. A few important points. Number one, you have to be very clear, structure your presentation to get all the points across in that 3 minutes that investors need to hear. A lot of you missed out various important things, whether business model or competition or whatever else. Number two, you have 3 minutes, don't rush. Better to do distill it down to the essence and give us a rational, controlled 3 minutes than going through at breakneck speed. Three, don't read your speech. That tells us you don't know enough about your business or have enough confidence to do it extempore. Four, if you're going to use slides, which are fine, most people use PowerPoints, control your PowerPoints and make sure that you say something and then you put up the slide to reinforce what you're doing. I'll just quickly go through the for-profit businesses. Bruce referred before to my well-known aversion to social businesses. I don't think there are any such thing. I'm in line with Sal Khan, which is why I was smiling, because I agree I don't believe in double bottom lines. You are one or the other, you're not both. That being said, I thought all three of the for-profit businesses each had an interesting example of this new world and how to leverage technology. In the case of FitHopper, you were looking at the spread of the internet to be able to provide access, marketing to reach a large base. In the case of Lean Canteen, you were taking various pieces, existing pieces out there, whether it's the frozen foods and the existing truck or the market trends here, and put it all together very inexpensively into a rational functioning business. And in the case of Resolutions, that's a very scalable business based on using an online platform across a very large market that if you get it working in one place, you can scale it if it all works and make it very large. So congratulations to all of you.
So I'm Laurie Smith, and I'm the lawyer in the group, and I get to talk last after everybody else took all my comments. I work with a lot of startups, early stage companies, and investors throughout the country, and so I've sat through a lot of these, and congratulations to all of you. I don't think I could do anything in 3 minutes. I would just be standing up there in sheer terror, not able to really explain what was going on. Just to reiterate what a lot of people here said, We looked at this from two sides, and this is a pitch contest, so presentation was really more important. And I really like the business plan competitions better, where you actually get a little bit more time and a little bit more opportunity to really understand the business, because that's the challenge for us here today. In 3 minutes, you all had to race through about 20 different topics, and I think that in that we lost, in some cases, the real understanding of what the business was. So I think David said this a bit, even though it's 3 minutes, and you want to hit everything, really hit the high points. And the high points, no matter what you're doing, are what's the problem? What's the problem? How am I going to solve it, and why am I solving it better than everyone else? Because that's really what we need to understand, and that's what I was trying to get at. And I think the other challenge is that when we're up here asking questions, really listen to those questions and use those few seconds you have to respond wisely, because I know it's hard to think on your feet like that, but the reality is that we're just trying to lead you where we want you to go. We're really trying to understand so that we can judge you fairly and give you the right feedback. And sometimes you go off on a tangent and don't really answer the question asked. I'm not going to go into the individual businesses. The only thing I want to point out, and I think this was a bit of a challenge also in the companies today, was that think about the market you're selling into. Because in all of these, it was the market that really was the issue a bit, for me at least. For resolutions, it was really the challenges of selling a product like that into the university setting. It's a really tough market to sell to, not a place where there's a lot of cash available, and new IT is really something that's a challenge for them, even though they're looking at it extensively. In the case of FitHopper, it was the challenge of who is going to buy this product, who's going to pay the 15% or whatever it is in this fragmented market of small businesses that are all fighting for the same customers. And if you're going to go to the other side and try to get the healthcare providers and the insurance carriers to pay for it, that's an even tougher market than the universities. And in the case of the Lean Canteen, for me, the issue was really the market is fairly small, and I don't really know how scalable it was. It's not that it's a truck. The food truck market is huge, but the model is basically selling a frozen food product, and so think about where that goes. That's really all I have to say, other than congratulations, and I wish all of you the best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you. And a round